I got to tell you, man, that sequence is extraordinary. That sequence is extraordinary. The conversation, the way that the humanity played out between the mother, the heartbreak she felt, it's animated. Invincible reminds me a lot of that moment. Invincible, just the animated show for Invincible, it seemed in its own way to just set the stage for what animation is going to be like for the next 10 years. It's super violent. It's incredibly violent. But I think that, and uncomfortably at times violent, but I think that the way that they handle music cues, the action, American animation sometimes gets a bad rap for consistency of animation. Even the great Tim Burnett and Dini Batman and Superman and Justice League series had questionable animation from episode to episode at times. Typically they hit it out the park, but sometimes the episodes would get really bad. But Invincible, 8 episodes, they nailed it. Every episode, it was great. I think we saw, if you watch the Invincible animation, I think we saw the future of animation. I really do. I think it was so well done. It was so consistent. It was so well produced. The voice acting was exceptional. The script, the writing was amazing. And so you got this thing, because I think with anime, the thing that it always gets lost here with traditional Japanese anime is that you lose track of, it's so Japanese. Like, culturally, I don't, as a 40-something-year-old man who was into anime long before most of you guys knew what anime was, anime just doesn't, to me today, really reflect what I fell in love with anime back in the 80s. And I feel like there's a humanity that's really lost in the anime of today. Like, the characters don't act like human beings. They act like, just act very, they act, very heightened and kind of ultra. Even though, and I don't mean that ironically for My Hero Academia. I just mean it just seems so over the top and kind of ridiculous. And even the stuff to be serious just seems kind of ridiculous. And I think that when you see something like Invincible that really says, you know what, we're going to take all the things that Hollywood does better than anybody else, and just going to just take it to 1,000. Because we know we got it animated, so we can do anything we want to do with it. We're going to still maintain what we care about in the West, which are really dynamic human characters and stories where you really, no matter how fantastic it, you still connect to the human being inside of it. And there's spoilers, folks, so if you haven't seen Invincible, don't watch this. Don't watch this. But the ending episodes where Debbie, Mark's mother, and Omni-Man's wife, and she suspects and then finds out that Omni-Man murdered the other heroes, and they're having the chats, her and he, and then she's witnessing the conversation he's having with the son, Mark, the character who is invincible. I got to tell you, man, that sequence is extraordinary. That sequence is extraordinary. The conversation, the way that the humanity played out between the mother, the heartbreak she felt, it's animated. And yet you can still feel that heartbreak. And I know people will try to make this case with anime, but and again, I love anime. I love Japanese animation. I created a company to help evolve animation, but I did it again because I feel like the Japanese anime and manga scene has kind of lost its way, hoping to evolve it by offering more diversity and offering more new ideas. But I can tell you that those scenes in Invincible, there's nothing that I can. All the hype in the world, we're going to get to Demon Slayer, but all the hype in the world of Demon Slayer, all the overly emotional stuff going on between the character Tanjiro and his family and stuff, which is all really well and it's really great animated, but I'm sorry, it does not capture the straight humanity of great Western storytelling. It just doesn't. I think, I've said before, I think Demon Slayer's success is because it's so Japanese. The Japanese people love it, and of course Americans tend to go along with the anime fandom around the world tends to really follow things that are they're Japanophiles. So if it's hot in Japan, even if they don't understand it, and that's why I'd always trip out about like cosplayers and various things. We see these kids try to do these things and make these funny faces who are not Japanese. They're doing it, and it's to me it's cringy because it's like, you don't know why you're doing it. You're doing it because you see Japanese people do it. You have no idea why they're doing it. You don't understand the cultural context. It's like somebody who's not black sagging their pants. Like, you don't understand what the history of it is, why it's done, and so on. You're just doing it because you think there's something to it. I thought Invincible, and again, I think Invincible is going to be, certainly when we announce stuff that we do, I think Invincible will be one of the shows that people look at as being the vanguard of animation for the next, 20 years. I mean, the Batman Timverse stuff, that show debuted in 1992 when I started college at UNC Chapel Hill, and it's still talked about today. And so what is that? That's 20 some years later. I think Invincible will be talked about for 20 plus years. It was that amazing. This first season was that amazing, and I can't think. And there's some great anime out there. I love the first season of Mob Psycho 100. I love Dorohedoro. I love Golden Kamuy, which I think is another great anime. I think that's actually a really, truly great anime. Doesn't get nearly as much love as it deserves, but a series that's going to be talked about by people for 20-some years. Maybe Demon Slayer because of how big it was in Japan. I don't think that many Americans rate Demon Slayer nearly as much as it was in Japan. Obviously, it doesn't sell that way. My Hero Academia sells far better than that. But I got to tell you, Invincible, I think Invincible is going to be one people talk about for a long time. I think it was so well done. So those are my thoughts on Invincible. I thought it's an excellent show.